So I'm really happy to be here today with the gorgeous Annie Phyo. We've been hanging out for a few days, having lots and lots of fun, and she's just taken a few minutes out of her busy schedule. We're just going to have a little chat for you and talk about recipes. Yay! Our favourite topic, recipes! So Annie, we were talking about recipes, and I think I've published close on to 500 recipes, which I thought was really good going. But how many recipes do you think you've published?
I don't know, probably well over 1,000.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what was your first, because you wrote books before, but what was your first raw food book?
My first raw food book was self-published actually, because I had been doing workshops and retreats for a few years, and people were asking me, they kept saying, when is your book going to come out? And I kept saying, well, I need time to write it, and they're like, we don't care about the writing, just compile the recipes. We just want
we want the recipes.
We want the recipes. So I self-published that, and I just spiral bound it.
So what year was that?
That was probably like 2003 maybe.
Right.
Yeah, 2003, I think.
So how did you start developing recipes in the first place? How did you start the whole process?
I think initially it was, in the transition mode of missing cooked foods, and then people asking me as well that wanted to see something that was cooked or less healthy done in a healthier raw manner. And so that's where my inspiration comes from. I always look outside of our raw food world, because that's where I feel like the inspiration will always come. Even in architecture, fashion, design, I always look to new trends and new things. And I love looking up a recipe, even like one that was more challenging actually was lucuma ice cream.
Yeah.
Because I'd never had lucuma ice cream, I've never had lucuma, right, until the powder was available.
Yeah.
And when you look up, so what I do then is I go into cookbooks and I look online and I look up maybe 5 to 10 recipes for lucuma ice cream. And then I notice everyone has egg yolk.
Yeah.
They all have cream, they all have sugar. And then I think to myself, well, egg yolk, I sort of remember what egg yolk tastes like, so what would give that flavor, a similar flavor, and what would give a similar texture? And then, I remember what cream tastes like and what it looks like. And so that's how I sort of go through it.
So
and
what did you use for egg yolk?
Lucuma.
Oh,
so
okay.
I found that lucuma really had that color of that rich egg yolk, and then it has that rich, smooth flavor. It has that caramel flavor, so just using lucuma, and then also I mixed it with yacon syrup. So yacon syrup is very dense and thick, sort of like a molasses.
Yeah.
And so mixing that with cashews for the cream to create that really rich, it sort of has, you could imagine it has that mouthfeel of an egg yolk.
Silky,
and then that really rich. So I love that, because I always think about what are the herbs and spices and flavors, so that you'll find in the recipe. When you look up the different recipes, there's key spices and flavorings and herbs that give it the flavor, but then what is the mouthfeel?
Right.
So what can I use that will give it a similar texture in the mouth, whether it's carrot pulp or, some other strain like spiralized zucchini, or, what is it going to be? And then figuring out the mouthfeel, and then the overall presentation, how to make it look.
So it's a real science when you're doing it. It's
yeah. I like to think of it as alchemy.
Yeah.
Right? What we do, I think, is alchemy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. For sure.
But how did you start originally? Were you just making food and people were like, wow, this is really good? How did you make it?
Absolutely. And so when I first discovered the gourmet style of raw food, it just changed my life, and immediately I wanted
Was that Giuliano?
Giuliano. I was taken to his restaurant in the mid-90s in San Francisco, and I had so much energy after dinner. I couldn't sleep. I had tons of mental clarity and I could focus. I cranked out this presentation that I had to give the next morning, and it was a beautiful multimedia presentation. I put in all these images and video and all this stuff, and then I gave the presentation and I knocked the socks off of everyone. And the whole night I was thinking, after the presentation I'll go home and take a nap. Well, after it was over, I felt so great. I didn't have to take a nap.
You went back to Giuliano's.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I did, because I kept thinking, what was in that food? What was in there that I have so much energy, I didn't sleep, I feel great, I got tons of work done, I had so much mental clarity and focus. So I started learning about it, studying about it, incorporating more and more of it into my own diet. And then of course every time I would go to a potluck, go to someone's house for dinner, that would be what I would bring. And I would love to take things like soups and smoothies and desserts. Desserts are really popular. And that was the thing that would be such a conversation centerpiece, because everyone would be like, wow, that was really good. What was that? How did you make it? And I described the ingredients, and then they'd be waiting. They're like, and then what did you do with it? I'm like, I put it into the pan, and here it is. They're like, well, did you
cook
bake it? And I'm like, no, you just assemble it and that's it. It's that easy, you know? And then they'd be like, oh, you didn't cook it, you know? And then it would be just such the hit of the party. And, you know, as I was doing that, more and more people would then start to request that I would bring specific dishes to dinner and potlucks, and that's sort of how I got into it.
Right. So your first book, what was that called, your first one?
The very, very first one, The Art of Raw.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you still go back to that? Do you still enjoy the recipes in that book, or do you feel it's kind of dated now?
No, I still do. And The Art of Raw had, I think it was like 50 or 60 recipes, and a lot of those got folded into Annie's Raw Food Kitchen.
Right.
So my first like officially published book, yeah, a lot of the recipes rolled into that one.
Can you still get Art of Raw? Is it still?
No, I have a copy somewhere in storage. It's really cute because it was designed really cute.
So it's a collector's edition. If anyone at home's got one, you might be able to sell it on eBay for lots of money.
Yes, collector's edition, limited edition.
Annie's Raw Food Essentials.
Kitchen.
Annie's Raw Food Kitchen was the first one. And how
was
many
the first
recipes
one.
is that?
I think Annie's, I should know this, I think Annie's Raw Food Kitchen is like 150 or 170 or something, and then Annie's Raw Food Desserts I think is another 100 maybe 120, and then Annie's Raw Food Essentials is over 250, and then I just finished another one that's probably about 130.
So do you just get up in the morning and think, okay, I've got to make this, this and this and this, and try them all out?
Sometimes. But I mean, just like yourself, right? Like, I just keep like maybe 2 or 3 notebooks in my kitchen at all times, and every day I just find that I'm writing down recipes for like 3 to 5 recipes every day anyway, because as we're making stuff, you know, depending on our mood that day, depending on what's fresh at the farmer's market, depending on what's in our kitchen, we're just sort of putting together new combinations. So I'm always writing like maybe 3 to 5 new recipes every day anyway. Yeah, I never get bored.
You never run out of inspiration?
No, I don't think so.
I thought I would.
So
Once I finished Raw Magic, I was like, hey, I've done recipes now, I'm not going to write any more recipes. But it doesn't work like that, does it? They still keep coming. And like you said, I have a list at the moment because I've been away for quite a while. I have a list of about a dozen recipes of like, I've had ideas of like, oh, I should try that and put that together. And then I've got to get in the kitchen and kind of try it all out.
Because that's my favorite thing. Like, I've been in that space too, where I'm like, I want to inspire people and do more, you know, what's it called? Public speaking and that kind of stuff. Because when we're out, it is sort of difficult to go shopping and gather everything and then set it all up and then pass out tasters and stuff. But I think in my heart, I actually love, because as soon as I'm away traveling, I come home, I get my groceries, immediately I'm in the kitchen, like making a million things, like for the whole first day that I'm back in my house, I'm in the kitchen making food, because I just love the act of making food. I love putting ingredients together and making really delicious dishes and creating new recipes. That's what I love. I just love being in that moment of creating food and then sharing it with friends and family.
When I came here the other day, and the first thing we got up in the morning, and I was like, shall I make you a cake?
Exactly. I was like, yes.
To do. That's what I wanted to do. I want to make Annie a cake.
And so, by the way, Kate has been making me a cake every day. And I eat the whole thing every day. So she started saying, almost pretty much, she started saying, okay, the cake is in the fridge. Just make sure you leave me 1 slice before I get back.
There's half. I got up this morning. There was half the cake.
Oh my goodness! So it's only been half a day. You only made it half a day ago, and there's only half left. See, so it's about a cake a day that I've been eating of Kate's magic, beautiful cakes. They're so good.
So you get your inspiration everywhere. You get your inspiration from established recipes and from just ingredients and playing with ingredients.
Yeah, definitely. So, and sometimes, I mean, doesn't your inspiration come from like music or dance or design or fashion
or people? I'm often
inspired by people. Exactly.
Like I'll call something Annie's milk or Tonya's crackers. Or
exactly. There might be someone's energy or someone's light that we see or vibration that we feel, or the inspiration just comes from anywhere. Or sometimes it'll even like just come from nature walks or like hikes I go with my dog, or it may even come from some new, you know, urban trend or movement, or like lately I am intrigued by it. I still don't know quite how I feel about molecular gastronomy. It's definitely intriguing because they're not cooking either. They're using chemicals, which is completely opposite of our philosophy. But they're using chemicals to make different textures and coagulations of different ingredients to make a tomato not look like look like a tomato but not taste like a tomato, and like infuse other flavors into it, or like take a melon and then they infuse the flavor of some meat into a melon, which is like the weirdest thing, but it's intriguing, right? So that kind of stuff intrigues me, and then it may inspire
It's all
me.
alchemy, isn't it?
It's all alchemy, yeah. And then inspire me to do it in a healthier way that's more connected to the earth and connected to our seasons and local and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.